All right, so this is the only new stuff that we're going to do today. We're trying to solve this equation. So you're seeing the square roots and you're saying to yourself, okay, let's try and square this side of the equation. If we do that, we will get x plus 6, which is a good start. But that means that we have to square the other side to keep everything balanced. Now, in order to square the right side of the equation, what I'm going to have to do is actually multiply by itself. Okay, when you square something, it's just multiplying it by itself. So what I get over here, and let's just not confuse you, so let's kind of get rid of that square there. What I'm going to get when I multiply here, when I FOIL this out, is I get 25 minus 5 square root x plus 1 minus 5 square root x plus 1 plus x plus 1. Because what I'm going to get, and let's try and move this guy over a little bit. Right here. When you multiply, when we multiply square root of x plus 1 and the square root of x plus 1, what we're going to have, I'll just write it down here, is the square root of x plus 1 squared, which would then give us x plus 1. That's why I have x plus 1 here in parentheses. Okay, let's get rid of that work. Okay, so I just have x plus 1. Now, if I start combining some of my like terms, my goal is to get the radical by itself. So right now, though, we're just going to combine some like terms. So I'm left with x plus 6. If I have 25, -5, and -5 are both being multiplied with the square root of x plus 1. So you can kind of think of it like -5x minus 5x. Like if the x's were the square root of x plus 1, you would just get -10 and then whatever was your variable. So you would get like -10x if you did -5x minus 5x. So here, if we're doing, let me try to use the highlighter so you know what I'm talking about. But here, and here is basically the same thing, okay? Think of the square root as almost like a variable, okay? So what I would be left with is -10 square root of, let's go back to black here, x plus 1, all right? Plus x and then plus 1. Now, if I keep combining like terms on the left, I still can't really do too much there, but on the right, I can say to myself, okay, I have the 25 and I have the 1, which gives me 26 minus 10 square root x plus 1. Plus x. Didn't mean that. Okay, plus x. Now I can start combining things on the opposite side of the equation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract x on both sides. And they actually cancel out from both sides. Now I'm going to subtract the 26 on both sides of the equation, and I get -20 equals -10 square root x plus 1. And now what we have to remember is what operation is going on in between -10 and the square root of x plus 1. That is multiplication. So I'm going to do the opposite of that and divide by -10 on both sides of the equation. And I'm left with 2 equals the square root of x plus 1. Okay? So what I've done is I've just gotten the radical by itself on one side of the equation. The reason is because now what I can do is if I square both sides of the equation, okay, I'm left with 4 equals x plus 1. I subtract 1 on both sides, I get my x equals 3. The one thing we do have to do, though, is once we get x plus 3, we have to go back to our original equation, just make sure that it makes sense. So my original equation, if I put 3 in for x, I would get the square root of 3 plus 6 equals 5. Ran out of room here. There 5 minus the square root of 3 plus 1. So all I've done is I've just replaced the x's, okay, in our original problem with the 3. Okay, that's all I've done. And the reason is because I want to check for extraneous solutions or solutions that don't make sense when we check them. Okay, so we have the square root of 9 equals 5 minus the square root of 4. Square root of 9 is 3. We get 5 minus the square root of 4, which is 2. Does 3 equal 3? Yes, it does. So I'm good. I've checked my answer. My answer is, in fact, 3. Okay, so tonight all you're going to do is just one problem. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. You guys have been doing well this week, so I'm just going to give you guys one problem for today. Just practicing this stuff because I know this is getting really complicated now, especially if I'm not there. So just try the one problem that I'm giving you. Make sure you show your work. A lot of you guys are kind of skipping some steps or there's some gaps in your work. So please show your works just so that I know that you're understanding the problems.